8 women from 8 cults. That's a video that I just finished watching, which I watched in 2 parts yesterday and today, by a lady on YouTube called Cults to Consciousness. And on her, she basically did a video with a bunch of different women from various different cults, which I'm going to list some of them here. We've got Amish Mennonite, extreme fundamentalist Islam, extreme fundamentalist Christianity, extreme Hasidic Judaism, 2 different forms of Mormonism, and Nixism, which is kind of like a self-help Tony Robbins type, change your life type thing. I took notes because I found this fascinating, because the key point of this whole conversation was surrounding patriarchy and misogyny, right? In these cults and how they're used against us as women. And honestly, I started out watching it out of interest. Just curiosity, you know what I mean? It was the weekend, the Sabbath was over, I was playing games, just wanted something interesting, kind of something to keep my mind, the cogs turning in my brain whilst I was gaming. And lo and behold, it's always when I think I'm just relaxing that I end up finding myself stumbling on a freaking gold mine. So we're doing a series because they talked about so much stuff that I want to cover. I made notes. I've made so many notes here, you guys. Like, I've made pages and pages of notes of stuff that they've said. And I'm going to make like a mini series. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, because we're just going to flow naturally. And then you guys know how we do over here, right? Eventually, by the end of the video, I'll probably come up with something, or, I'm going to separate into sections because, again, I want to make it digestible, because they talked about so many different things. She had 6 different specific prompts of questions that she asked. And then they also ended up talking about different side stories. So like their experiences, for example, in the requirements of the afterlife. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to compare and contrast and talk about with you guys. One of the other things that was really interesting is how the womb, the menstruation period, and how that looks in all these different belief systems in these cults. A big thing which was an overrunning thing, and this is probably the most relatable of all the things they talked about, was just pregnancy and having children, and what those cults, what the expectations were of the women, how the children are dealt with, how many children were expected to be had, and just a lot of interesting things. So this video is just an introduction to give you guys an understanding of exactly what this is about, so that with the other videos you can just kind of, go through. So of course, you guys know how we do. There will be a link to the playlist in the description box below. I don't exactly know I'm going to separate this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go with the topics in the authentic order in which they came up in. So I'll probably just do a video per topic. So yeah, I'm just going to leave this as the intro, but I'll tell you guys a little bit about why I wanted to make this, and then I'll start with the next video with the first prompt that they had. And the prompt was, how did your cult use fear, specifically for women, to keep you small, passive, and obedient? So that's the first prompt, which will start in the next video. But I just want to touch quickly on why I decided I wanted to talk about this, because I really feel like this whole conversation these women had really gave me a lot of confirmation about myself, and really highlighted a lot of things, a lot of my own fears actually, in society. So I've said to you guys, and I've kind of been on this, I don't know what it is about the atmosphere right now, but one of the things that's really come to my attention is just us as women, and how we feel towards our experiences at large with men, you know what I'm saying? And our anxieties. And I'm talking about this because I feel that, you guys know that, as I've said, I feel like the solution to all of our issues is that men and women unite together in the way that God intended for things to be done, in the way that God intended for things to be done. And that's why I think this series is so interesting, because so many of the ways that these truths, like the statement I just said, it made me realize that to some of these women, if they were to hear me say that statement, for example, that's a completely triggering for them, because the way that statement was then manipulated, as in, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do as a woman. this is biblical. If you don't do this, this is going to happen to you. We're going to take your kids away. We're going to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so like the word of God has really been twisted in so many of these areas, and our desire as women to want to, or for the women who want to do the right thing, that desire being mistreated, manipulated, abused, has happened so often. And that's something I've actually experienced. And that's why I'm truly, I really want to talk about this, because it's an uphill battle that I've had to fight for myself, and I fight every single day. I've said to you guys before that this let's hate all men demon knocks at my door every day, and I'll be honest, it knocks even louder, because unfortunately, even just hearing some of this stuff, a lot of men have added so much to the story, have added so much fuel to the fire. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'll tell you that my biological grandfather, like on my paternal side of the family, this is according to my grandma. She has now passed, by the way, rest in peace. All my grandparents have passed, right? I have 5 grandparents. So all my grandparents have passed. So that's one of the reasons why I also feel a huge disconnect, because like they were kind of like the people that I wanted to, learn from, let's say. Anyway, my grandmother told me when I went on holiday with her to see my auntie, aka her sister, that my grandfather used to beat her with barbed wire, right? Because he wanted her to prepare these dried fish for her that had like maggots coming out of it that he wanted her to remove. And I fully believe her. Like, these are the stories. These are the horror stories. Like, I had another story from another guy on another side of my family, another man, right? And in his family, like, what he would do is he would give his family bread to eat, and he would go and make himself a full meal with rice and, I don't know, chicken or beef or this or that, and he'd leave his wife and his kids to just have bread, and he was just okay with that. This isn't like 100 years ago. This is like, generations that were in the generations that I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just a lot, those are just 2 stories from my family, let alone my own life experiences, let alone the fact I grew up in church. I've heard time and time again the expectations of women, and it's sad to me, because I've also experienced my own experiences with men, which we already know. That on its own is enough to do its own, damage. And so the thing for me is, I get why, and this is why it's important for me to speak up about this. I fully understand, and I do not disregard anything any of these women are saying, because they have been manipulated. And it's not even a case of me trying to be like, you were manipulated, but just trust God again immediately. It's not even like that. For me, it's like, I have gone on a whole journey, and I just am sharing my authentic journey. And I feel that on my authentic journey, it would be helpful for me to share my thoughts and things that I've had to correct, or God has corrected in my understanding, things I still struggle with. But most importantly, and this is genuinely the most important reason that I want to do this, I really want for any women out there who've experienced these things to see that, it was not okay, and you absolutely deserve every single right to be treated well, to be heard, to ask questions that you want to be asked, and to have those questions answered. Right? Because that's the established relationship I have with the Lord. I don't have a relationship with God where, oh my gosh, I'm fearful of going to hell if I don't just do what God said just cause. I don't actually do that. In fact, me being the experimental person that I am, there was a period of time where I purposefully would be like, God, well, not even a period of time. That's what I do now. I'm like, God, if I don't understand something, I'm not going to switch what I'm doing until I understand, like, as in, not that I'm not going to stop sinning or something, whatever. Like, obviously, the closer I get to the Lord, the more I'm just like, well, he does know better. So I trust that I believe he knows better. That's why I do things, not because of fear of going to hell, not because of fear of whatever. If I've changed my behaviors, because I believe that God knows better. If I haven't understood it properly, then I'll go on the journey of understanding with the Lord, but I'm not there sleeping trying to worry about, and what if I don't figure out how to overcome this or how to do that in time. You know what I'm saying? So my relationship with God is very much free will based. I have the freedom of choice. I do what I do for the Lord, and I believe in God the way that I do. by choice, not out of fear, not out of fear of rejection, not out of being scared to go to hell, not out of like nothing like that. It's all 100%. The relationship I have with God is the most consensual relationship I've ever had in my life. Like, you know what I mean? Prior to YouTube, it's the most consensual, respectful, like relationship. So I just be very clear about that. And where my thoughts and my feelings actually matter. I'd just like to point that out, because this is again something that's going to come up as a common theme. So for the ladies out there who have experienced this, I want to acknowledge that. And I also, for the people who haven't, I want to be a Christian person to acknowledge what was really wrong, because there's a lot of Christianity itself, even outside of some of this extremism, that also is very culty. I was like, wow, a lot of the church, and you guys know I was involved in a cult. When I was at university, when I first moved out, the first church I ended up in was a cult. That's a story for another day. Maybe I'll include my own story afterwards, but I feel like my story isn't as anywhere near as important as these guys, but maybe it is, we'll see. So that's one side of it, you know, to acknowledge the people who've been through it and to say, listen, you need to get out of there. And it's not even that I'm telling you what you need to do next. You just need to get out of there, and we need to just address whatever you need addressed in the order in which you feel comfortable addressing it, and not with any particular goal in mind, right? Number two, all the rest of us need to educate ourselves on what's going on in other groups, and know what to look out for, and know what's the truth and what isn't, because I think a lot of this is, you know, the truth has been bent, and that's why the Bible says in Hosea 4:6, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. You know, the devil's an absolute mastermind, giving you the best version of the closest version of truth that isn't actually truth. And then the third reason, and this is also equally as important as the first, I'm going to need the male community to listen and to understand, okay? Because I feel that when you're in a position where you're not directly in somebody's shoes, right? As in, so for me as a woman, it's easy. It would be easy for me to sit here every day, all day, and make all these videos critiquing men 5,000 times. In fact, that's why I try not to talk about these things, because I don't want to make it us against each other, because I feel like it's us together against the common enemy. But I feel that it's important to actually say, like, you guys need to understand that you guys have really done a lot, like, not maybe you individually, but your gender, because of things like patriarchal societies, which we do live in a patriarchal society still, and also because a lot of religion is very patriarchal, right? You got to understand that it is not attractive it's attractive to women who want to do well and to be good, but it's also the perfect place for manipulative men to take advantage of those women. And when that happens, that's exactly what's producing most of the issues with women we're seeing today. And that's the undertones that I'll say in all my vulnerability and all my bravery that I do on the internet. That's what no one's saying. A lot of the stuff that us ladies do, a lot of the things that I see from other women of all ages, genders, not genders, of all, I want to say generations, you know, nationalities, whatever. I can see the same thing. We all have these underlying undertone thing that, we all know why. There's not a woman in the world who doesn't understand why another woman thinks that men are the problem, right? And not to say that you guys are, but I'm just saying that because there's a lack of actual understanding. There's too many times there's guys who are like, well, we're not like that. That's not good enough. Because it's not good enough for you not to be like that. You need to be a leader, and you need to be also checking the men around you and not taking advantage of your position. Because I can tell you guys here and now, the main reason I do not want to be married and I do not want to have children, which you're going to see why my feelings, they match up with these ladies here, is I have a fear of being taken advantage of. I don't want to have to be worrying and watching my back to see if I'm being lied to or manipulated. So that's the only reason. Outside of that, I would risk it all. I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? I would risk it all. But that's the only reason. I have a fear of being taken advantage of. And then I have a fear of bringing children, like, of choosing the wrong father for my children. Those are the two fears I have around why I don't want to be married and why I don't want to have children. I don't want to bring the wrong, I don't want to have to be watching my back and having to be like trying to protect myself from the person I'm supposed to be able to feel the safest around, from being manipulated just because I'm a good person and I'm not a good person, but like I'm a kind person, I'm caring and whatever. I want to be able to love freely without feeling like I have to now put up these boundaries to protect myself. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to like having children, I don't want to be the reason that they end up with a horrific father. Like I that would be the biggest failure. That's the one job I have to do, I feel, as a mother, the one thing I have to get right. Like as a parent, you're going to get many things wrong, and that's normal. We all know that. That's the one thing. The one thing I have to be able to do is look back at the end of my life and say, I picked the right person. So that's just my because this is all going to come into this. This is a lot of this, especially the family and the having children part is a big thing, that topic that comes up amongst all of these types of different women, and that's quite interesting to me. So anyways, you guys, this is just the introduction. This is just part one. Stay tuned. There will be everything in the description box. We will start with the first prompt, and I'm just going to flow naturally through with what the ladies were talking about and share with you guys. But I hope you guys are appreciating this. Listen, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, would I be here talking about why I don't want to be married and having children? No, never. But here we are. Growth, this is me being brave. So anyways, you guys, if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next one.